always appreciated Taylor's game.
If you visualize the net as having 5 zones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you have to have at least a 1 zone space from where the setter is setting to the set you call.
I was still calling shots as Caleb had the ball in his hands.
Hermosa or Manhattan, where people were just thick. Think that your shoulder stuck if you have any shoulder pain, if you think that you could or should be hitting harder and you're leaving some juice on the table, that's exactly what that program is designed to do. Hey everybody, welcome to the Better at Beach podcast. My name is Mark Burrick and I'm here with my co-host Brandon Joyner, and we have just wrapped up the weekend for AVP Huntington, the first tournament of the year in 2024, if you're listening to this in the future when robots have taken over. And the Taylors have won yet again. And we are going to go through today a bunch of what we saw, what we noticed in the tournament. I'm going to give the AVP an actual high five for its coverage of all of the courts. Was so happy to see that it was easy for viewers, easy for users. And there are, parts of 5 or 6 teams that I've gotten to have a tiny little piece of conversation with about their play, about their practice and what they're doing and what they're changing. And, went pretty deep with Logan and Hagen, where we finished 9th, and want to talk about some of our strategies, some of our tactics, and the goods and the bads from the men's side of the tournament. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Chit-chatting it up for our members this week. If you're a Complete Player member or you're in our Complete Coaching Academy, I want you to know that we will be doing actual live film reviews. So we have a couple AVP teams who have volunteered / requested to do some video analysis for our members. That means that I'll take them through. Basically, I just ask a bunch of questions while watching their film and see what their thoughts are and see if we can come together with a good solution to any problems they're experiencing. And that's what we do with our members every day. But that is what we're going to do with some pro players for our members who will be live in attendance. And those coach and player members from our program also get to ask the pros questions so that they can dive into their minds. So if you want to become a Complete Player member or join the Complete Coaching Academy, just click on the links around this video. You will see it. And we're running a one-time special, and it is for 2 of our programs. Now, if you've been with us for a while, you know that our programs are all wrapped in a membership. We have a lot of courses and training programs. One of them is our 60-day max vertical course. It's our workout for volleyball players. It's a 10-week program. It includes mobility, plyometrics, strength training, and a performance nutrition checklist that'll help you start eating better for tournaments. We also have a program called Fix Your Arm Swing in 21 Days, which is an arm swing mechanics reprogramming and rehab program. So if you think that your shoulder's stuck, if you have any shoulder pain, if you think that you could or should be hitting harder and you're leaving some juice on the table, that's exactly what that program is designed to do. And you can do it from home, you can do it on the court, but it gives you the gym exercises, the mobility exercises, and we help teach you the right swing mechanics so that you can actually add some pace to your swings. Now, we're during this special, each of those programs is a standalone program, so it doesn't involve our usual membership. We want you to become a member because we actually want to coach you. Me and Brandon and Matt are lifetime coaches. This is what we want to do, dive deep with our players. However, we know that some people just really don't want a membership or another subscription in their life. So this is your chance to get those 2, our 2 most popular programs, for just $37 standalone. And if you see what's in there and then you like it and you want to dive deeper with us so that we can help you in some video sessions and during the meetings, you are more than welcome to become a member. But if you just want access to those programs on their own, our 10-week, 60-day max vertical program is in the link below this video on YouTube, and we will get it there on the podcast. And our Fix Your Arm Swing in 21 Days, rehab and reprogramming your arm swing mechanics, that is also available. So just check out those links, and we're going to run that special for about 2 weeks and see if any of you guys are interested in just picking up the programs alone. And then you can follow the videos, use the tracking sheets, check it out on your own. And other than that, we got a bunch of events coming up, but we're going to use a little mid-roll for that. So if you want to come to one of our camps, we'll talk about that midway through this podcast. And I want to get into AVP Huntington. So what do you say, Brandon? Let's rock and roll.
Yeah, it's a fun event. I thought it
was a fun event.
Went about as good as the AVP and all the players wanted it to. It was really, really, really well run. So
I was ecstatic as a fan. I was ecstatic because they finally did, not toot my own horn, but toot. They finally did the smart thing and put all of their matches on YouTube from every court on the same thing, where you don't need to download an app. You don't need to do all this extra stuff. I remember at one point, to watch a full tournament, you had to download 3 separate apps at one point, or get 3 different subscriptions. And this is AVP building its brand. Yes, it's building its brand on the back of YouTube, which is always seemingly dangerous. But all you need is one person if AVP gets hacked or anything like that to get that channel back. And YouTube is pretty good about that, especially with its big time channels. So this is the right move to have all of these videos, all of these matches available for anyone to watch anytime, and available all weekend. At one point, I had 3 different matches going. I had one on my phone, I had one on my TV, right? And I had the other one on my computer. So I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I spent most of my day Friday horizontal, sore. And it was, I thought it was great. I think being able to watch all the matches, being able to flip through, I thought the schedule that they came out with was amazing. I thought it allowed people to choose what style of volleyball they wanted to watch. Almost every hour there was either a women's match or 2 really high-level men's matches, or 2 really high-level women's matches. Yeah, and I thought it was great. And even in person, I thought the setup of the event was great. Outside courts had people surrounding them from Friday morning until Sunday afternoon. The stadium court, I thought it went well. I think with the selling of tickets, I know that was kind of a conversation going into it. I think
Thank God we're selling tickets.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I didn't hear anybody complaining. The one thing I will say is I think that they should be more mindful of single game attendance, meaning like, let's say Logan and Hagen play at 10 a.m. on 9 a.m. on Saturday morning, and the stands aren't full, but there's 20 people waiting outside to try to watch the game. Maybe you allow a single match seating type of arrangement early on in the day. I don't know how they would organize it or what, but getting people in those stands mainly for the shots and allowing people to support. And I think they kind of started doing that to an extent, but I think it's something that they'll probably think about and figure out if it's a problem, if it's something there in the future. I know the tournaments coming up, Manhattan never really has a problem filling those stands, and Chicago as well. I think those 2 events are probably the most attended, so I think it'll go well there too.
One disappointing part was it didn't seem packed. It didn't feel like a Hermosa or a Manhattan where people were just thick in the crowds. There were some empty stands. The side courts were like 5 people deep, where there'll be 10 or 11 people deep in Hermosa, Manhattan.
They got pretty big though, Saturday afternoon and Sunday.
Okay.
I know because I was one of them.
I was in one of the people.
No, but yeah, I thought it was cool. I think that they did a great job with it.
And a great event. It was cool to see Sean Cook and Cody Caldwell. We worked together. They let me run a couple other practices during the preseason. So we got about 8 or 10 practices together where we were just touching on basics, basically just me watching them pass, set, and hit. But they put it together, and Sean was physical and Cody was passing so well. I mean, For the amount, like I was in Hagen and Logan's box, and we were trying to serve perimeters, and we did perimeter serving a lot, and we got a lot of people to take a knee for passes, to dive for passes, and I think 75% of Cody's passes, we had him on his knees or on the ground somehow. We were sharp with our serving, and they were still in system. And Sean's on 2 game, getting out of trouble consistently, was good to see, and it was intimidating to see him jumping and thundering off high hands, or when he had open space. He's got range even more this year than he did last year. Mm-hmm. So it's fun to see him just taking off.
Yeah, they looked super composed. They looked like they'd been there before, and I know Cody had 3/3 last year.
Really? Wow.
I think he had 3. So, and he played like it.
And he's been on the big stage. He's played international. He was, he's got some kind of NCAA awards where he was just an absolute moneymaker in college. Mm-hmm. And he just kind of came out of nowhere in his late 20s, and everybody's, who is this guy? Oh yeah, he's a rock star.
So that was cool. And they're just easy to root for. They're a fun team. They're kind. They love the fans. Their antics are
hate Sean if you're playing against him and you don't know what to expect, or even if you do know what to expect, his antics when it's going wrong for you are fun for him, great for the fans, great for the sport, a kick in the nuts for you if you're losing points.
Yeah, 100%. And he's got the game to back it up.
Yep.
I think everyone saw they almost murdered Kamstalk on the court. That was. There's a couple funny posts going around today.
I know now. Kame's like now everybody's like posting. It's popular to post yourself getting 6-pack now. Yeah. You know what I might do? I might post that one time where I clocked Evie in practice.
Bruno got you.
If you've ever felt a volleyball touch both of your ears at the same time, Bruno must have hit it.
Yeah.
No, Sean was thundering. They were playing well. Taylors were on the whole tournament.
They look so calm. And it's kind of funny. My where I live, I have I'm lucky to get to watch a lot of their practices. I've always appreciated Taylor's game. I am one of the people that says he's amazing, he's great, he does a good job. After watching, because probably for the last year I've been able to watch their practices, the consistency that they play at every single day, the accuracy of their shots, the work that they're putting in with Evie, I think it truly did show. They looked unrattled. They looked like they were confident. I mean, they were split blocking up until the finals. I think they split blocked a little bit in the finals as well. I mean, there were a couple teams missing. So I think that's something to take into account, but they cruised.
It's interesting to see the difference in their arm swing mechanics, but the similarities where Taylor Sander, his chest really opens wide. Like you see that elbow kicking back, which is really nice. And then he just crushes. Whereas Taylor stays a little bit shorter, still perfect arm swing mechanics, still draws his elbow nice and low, but it just a little bit shorter. You don't see him wind up as much as you see Sander. But either way, pass set and defense is insane by their part. The amount of digs that Taylor's getting, and then seeing him at the dyno in Hawaii playing 1-on-2 volleyball was like, well, yeah, if you can do this, and then you add a blocker who's won world championships in front of you.
Exactly. Yeah.
I do want to talk about some of the things that I saw out of the teams that we know, or that I've had, touch points with. I saw a little bit of your stuff on Thursday, and I want to talk for those players who are playing with somebody that they've never played together before, or they've got one practice, 2 practices. I remember playing a qualifier in Chicago, showing up day of, never met the guy, just heard he was tall, and, played a qualifier and did not enjoy it. Was mad at the person who gave me the recommendation, was upset at the guy for not listening to any calls. And now I know that listening to calls is bogus. But if you're getting dug off the court and blocked, you got to listen to something eventually. And so, Tyler, though, we've lost to Tyler. Might have had a couple of wins against him along the way. But what was your mindset going into it with a new player? From my eyes, and again, I didn't see every match. I just thought that in some of the squirrely moments, and this is one of my recommendations that I give to every team that's playing together without a lot of reps together, is just when you're in trouble, when you're digging, or the play gets weird or funky, lift the pass, lift the set, like throw it higher. I'm not saying to the moon, but throw it high to the point where you can get up, breathe, and then get a normal rhythm set, instead of where people try to feel each other and they're like, yeah, he's right next to me, so I might as well just give him this ball kind of low. You don't know if you have that connection yet.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, it's just best to say, hey, this is the rule for our team. We're always going to go back to up and down. And that way we don't have any of those miscues. And it was windy on Thursday for sure. And I just saw a couple of sets missed, or a couple of off balance or inside swings where we ran a little bit faster. So on two of them that I'm thinking of, you didn't quite have your chance to get your feet to the ball. And are those two plays going to make a difference from what I saw? Maybe not, but definitely as far as advice goes, if you guys are playing with people new, simplify. And simplify means running the same height that you always run the same distance that you always run, even when it gets squirrely and you think, oh, here's an opportunity for me to jump set, and your partner's never ever seen you jump set before. What do you think?
I think that statement is very good. I think also just trusting your strengths. I think that's one of the reasons that Tyler and I did as well as we did. We didn't qualify. We made it to the game to get in. Lost to Alvaro.
You played good volleyball along the way, and then just happened to lose to a Brazilian Olympian.
Yeah, and then he played with the right person, is a main draw guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I mean, it's tough because like the coach in me is hears what you're saying and is like, yes, 100%. Like that is 100% the best way to do it. Being there and the athletes that we were, and I think one of the things that we did really well was I think our ball control was pretty solid when it was there. We did have a couple of runs where we got aced. That was mainly good serving or wind conditions. I think we also had a decent amount of plays where we made something happen out of nowhere where
I did.
If we can have more of those, then we might have been playing on Friday and Saturday. Yeah, I think especially against Alvaro and Caleb in the last game, the setting, dude, I think I had 6 or 7 sets get blown 12 feet off the net or into hands, like into blocking hands. And I would say, like, for the day, my setting was I was very, very happy with it. It's been something that I've been working on a lot in the off season. It was so windy that like I was still calling shots as Caleb had the ball in his hands, because I would let go of the ball. I would look over to the other side of the net and I'd be like, high line. And then the next thing I know, Caleb's dunking the ball. And so it was just like a little frustrating in that sense, where it felt like we played better than the scores looked.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I think it really is tough going into, and especially for those people wherever you are, if you're traveling somewhere and playing with somebody who is new. I think it's just really important to establish what are like 1 or 2 things that you can do well and are going to lean on. And once you establish that, then it's your job to figure out how can you get into that situation as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
I think for Tyler and I, we talked about those things, and then we had to make some adjustments as we were playing different people. But yeah, I think it was just a little bit of everything. We played really well at times. We kind of screwed up at times, and that's why we're qualifying and not in the main draw.
Okay, everybody visualize with me here. You're playing left side and the ocean is on your left. Okay. So I'm playing left, the ocean is on my left, and the wind is coming from the ocean. So that means that, sets are being blown to inside my right hand. My setter has to set into the wind. There's a couple of things here. Like, this is a more okay position because you're a left side with a right-handed. So that means that you can jump into the court in order to chase a ball and hit it. Versus if you're a right side and the wind's blowing from your right to your left arm, so your setter is now pushing into the wind again. Now the ball gets blown heavily to your left side, and that hurts. So most teams would want to set back, so you set with the wind so you can hit back into the wind. Your cut shots get meaner. Your hard cross you can detonate. Your jumbo will like go 100 feet high and then immediately drop down fast. And then the sets, they float in straight lines a little bit better, unless it's gale force. Now if you're a right-handed left side, so your setter's pushing into the wind, it's usually you don't have to go back, right? You don't have to run that back set because you could always just broad jump into it. And if you're comfortable on the left side and that's where all your choices are, you go there. But if your setter is hand setting into that wind, the ball has a better, bigger chance to float, to gust, just because of the way it knuckleballs. And I did see one of the sets that I think Tyler had to stand on. It almost looked like he tripped. He came in for an approach, and the ball, either he tripped or the ball must have gusted so much.
So that ball blew 10 feet off the net.
Yeah. And it's like, I saw that, and I was like, I wonder if that's prevented by a back set, even though we're super capable to broad jump to the left. Like, should that left side continue to go back? Because I've seen teams win and not go back with their left side, and I've seen teams win who are consistently running that back set inside wind.
That was one of the occurrences after that set. Both of us, like, if you were watching that game live,
yeah,
if you were the ref, like, the ref left at that play after it happened. Like, it wasn't like it blew a foot or 2 feet. That ball legitimately was going to land a foot and a half from the net, and it landed at like 12 feet.
A water spout. And
it was unreal. But I do agree, and I think we did a good job when I was on the opposite side. So I was a right-handed player on next to
the you were going back. Yeah.
I was going back pretty consistently. And the reason that I started doing that was because we lost our first set of the day, like 28-26. And we were up pretty much the whole set. And I lost the match or the set because I was stubbornly staying on the right side. We had like a couple point lead going into the 18-17 or 18 whatever switch, might have been 19-16. Stubbornly stayed on the right side, lost like 4 points in a row really quickly. And then for the rest of the day, I went back every single time, unless it was like a pass that 100% needed me to be there.
Yeah.
I think Tyler did a pretty good job of going back on that side when he could. He was also running like kind of tempoed sets.
Right.
Which
makes it like
right, because I was able to push it through the wind and I wasn't worried about it blowing. I think it's a really good tool to use, and just setting a rule for yourself. Like for me, I usually have a pretty strong rule that like if I get stopped twice, I have to go back. And so establishing that rule early enough and saying, okay, I'm not going to lose. I'm not going to allow myself to lose 3 points the same way because of elements.
I think it's also a good opportunity for everybody who has never experimented with a bump spin set. If you've never intentionally put spin sideways, left ways, right ways, front ways, backwards and stuff, but if you can learn how to kind of cut a set so that it spins and sits at least a little bit straighter, and this is just talking in general, but I grew up in Long Beach, New York for volleyball. And so we always had this crazy headwind, and it just seemed natural for me to learn how to bump set with spin so that I could push balls to the net better, especially when people started saying words like roll me up. In the beginning, you don't know what that means, but then you sort of get it. Okay, it's going to cut the wind. Now I understand. And so I got pretty good at bump setting sideways and, again, left ways and right ways with spin. But if you don't have that in your arsenal, I really recommend you just going outside, putzing around with the ball, and learning how to put any spin you want with your forearms in case you ever have to run into that, in case you have to set into heavy wind with a small distance or into even light wind with a long distance. That way you're not creating that knuckleball and now your hitter feels like they're trying to swat a fly. You know, that becomes tough. So if you could get that ball to travel in a straighter line with some bump spins, guys, just go out there, mess around with it, and see if you could play one set of volleyball where you make every bump set spin. And that'll be worth it for you. And then you'll learn how to use that in the and if you're in an indoor facility and you're ever going to play an outdoor tournament, this is something that you have to learn without learning the hard way.
Really cool drill for like coaches out there or people that are playing is to encourage people to start going behind and like creating this idea of wind is actually setting the net up at an angle. And so like your power side is like 2 inches high and the other side of the net is like 2 inches low. And so it's like a way to encourage your players to realize that like one side of the court is better to play on. And even if you don't have the wind, whether it's you're at a place that doesn't get windy or if it's an indoor facility, it still makes players think of like, oh, I'm going to go hit it on this like shorter side of the net. I thought it went really well when the coach implemented it, and it created that storyline of saying, okay, this is why we went back. And obviously whenever the tournament starts and it's windy, then that's you've already seen it. You've already realized what it feels like.
Am had one at camp where he said, if you visualize the net as having 5 zones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's how you call for your sets. You know, if you want the far left, you're calling 1. If you want the far right, you're calling 5. That's what USA Volleyball is using for their stat keeping. It's what they're using for their systems right now. So you might want to get familiar with it anyway. But he made a rule where he said you always have to have at least a 1 zone space from where the setter is setting to the set you call. So if you're left side, you pass straight in front of you and your partner is setting from 1, you have to call a 3, a 4, or a 5 because you've got at least 1 zone of space. And if you pass to the 4, then you can't call the 5. You can call a 2 or a 1. And just the knowledge of this is what space looks like. This is what having to move to a different spot looks like. And then you can feel out your own way after that. But I really like that drill too, and figuring that out or saying that you have to hit every ball from a certain zone. You know, coaches, you can set up an antenna and say, hey, if you're a left side, you always have to hit from the right side of the antenna that we put in the middle of the court. And it'd be fun to just try to hit that antenna and mess with the other team as a bonus drill.
Yeah, I like that idea too.
Okay, so next, Jake Urrutia took a 9th. He ended up playing with David Lee. I thought he played really well. Not everybody gets to play like this, but Jake's one of those guys that can dig balls with his hands really well. He has the ability to step up into the pocket and very good reaction time. And so he leaves his hands out in front of him and then just is able to scoop balls with his hands. Now, if you're not comfortable with your hands, you better get your butt back way behind half court. But Jake is able to step at half court a lot and get really close to some hitters and scoop balls with his hands, which is really nice. But he had Dave Lee, who setting has been a question mark for Dave Lee. And in order to play with a setter who struggles, you have a couple of choices. You could either run a really small set, right? In which case you have to make some pretty fast decisions. And you can get trapped by blockers because it's so predictable for your lineup. You know, they see exactly where you're going. They can time you exactly, and you can do that. Or you can wait back if you want a regular tempo. And so we told Jake, I was like, hey, the most important thing for you to be successful here is just absolutely waiting, walking on every ball. He's got that big forward lean for an approach. And so he doesn't get early much, to be honest, even though he's got a heavy forward lean. But I said, it's going to be triple important for you to just walk for your first 2 steps. The only thing that needs, literally walk. I mean, if everybody can imagine just walking high and then off of their left foot, then just stomping your last 2 feet in the ground from a walk to a stomp. It's a nice approach to have. And he was waiting back so well. He got so many good looks, a great offense. And yeah, his defense, he just looked calm back there. So nice job, Jake. And he is going to be coaching our New York camp, maybe our Virginia camp, which is a nice time for us to give a couple of announcements for our upcoming camps. May 31st, Long Island, New York. We're going to be in Long Beach for 3-day camp. That's all levels. June 2nd, we'll be in Hermosa Beach for beach volleyball fundamentals. If you just want to run through the basics and get a ton of reps in 6 hours, come out there June 2nd to Hermosa Beach. If you're new to the sport, it's also a really good opportunity for you. June 14th to 16th in San Diego with me and Travis Mayweather is sold out. However, June 14th to 16th in Virginia Beach, Brandon's hometown, that's where you'll meet fellow AVP player Jake Urrutia and a couple other coaches who are yet to be named. But that's already got 32 people out in Virginia Beach. So that's going to be another big camp. We keep breaking
we just
records.
Opened up a couple more spots for that. So that's exciting.
That
just
is
locked
exciting.
Down one more court.
What's that?
So we just locked down one more court for Virginia. So
great.
Just opened it up to a few more people. So if you're interested in the Virginia one, get signed up fast.
Awesome. You could go to betterbeach.com/camps to check that out. And Vancouver, Canada, June 28th to 30th. We're going up to Canada. June 28th to 30th. So that same weekend in Hermosa Beach, we have a 3-day camp for women's B and A players. So if you know any women's B or A players, let them know that June 28th, we're running in Hermosa. And July 19th to 21st, we are in Hermosa Beach for B and A level men and all levels in Chattanooga, Tennessee, going back to the place where me and Janelle got married and actually going to spend a little bit of extra time there. And then signups are open for Bend, Oregon, July 26th to 28th. Bend, Oregon, all levels. Signups are open. So just head on to betterbeach.com/camps and start clearing your fall and winter schedules because we are signing the contracts for our hotels. Should we release the dates?
Sure.
All right. Save the date for Halloween week. Guys, the week of Halloween, that is the last week in October. We will be in Florida at PCI. But if you are an alumni and want to join us in Punta Cana, the Dominican Republic, for an all-inclusive resort retreat with us, we only have 4 courts. It's going to be a hyper-limited camp, and that is only open to our alumni, people who have attended a camp. So if you haven't attended a camp yet and you want to come to an all-inclusive resort, you better come to a camp fast.
The Miami camp, we're going to release some more information on that too at the end of September. But that one is going to be one of our coolest events, partnering with a pretty cool little organization where there will be a lot of really good volleyball players around. That's my hint. But that'll be fun.
Yeah. Lots of Florida and Caribbean dates, which is great. Next on our Huntington hit list here for what AVP teams did right and wrong, I watched a little bit of DJ Klasnick. And guys, if you are not a member yet, DJ and Brian, we're going to be doing a film session with them this week. So on Wednesday, with our complete player meeting, we're going to be going through actual AVP film, and our members are going to be able to basically sit inside the Zoom meeting and watch us talk about high-level strategy, high-level technique, and figure out the rights and wrongs of what DJ and Brian did together on the court at AVP Huntington and see what corrections we can make. You'll also have access or the ability to ask any questions at any time during that meeting. So if you're not a member yet, only costs $1 to sign up for the first 14 days. So you can get a few meetings coming up and access to all of our courses. So just click the links around this video to get in that. But DJ and Brian, who, DJ has the ability to be insanely powerful. When he hits some balls, you're like, gosh. But he also has super nice cut shots, a pretty decent high line. Brian's a good blocker. I think he gets in people's way a lot. But what I saw when they were down in a match was they're two powerful guys, and they were going really easy on serves and trying to shoot a lot, and they were getting touched and they were getting dug. And I really wanted them to go to what I think is a physical strength for them and start detonating. The problem when you ask people to start detonating, or people say like, oh, I got to be aggressive now, is they start charging like a bull on their approach, and they get like flexy and tight. And so how do you get somebody, this is coming from Logan's help. He said, I can't think hit hard. I have to think hit fast and loose. And if I do that, then I will hit hard. But if I think the word even hit hard, then I'll be early and I'll be tense. But DJ and Brian, I thought, could have brought more power. I thought that would have been a big change in their results. And I want to see that team again, because I think that can be a, I don't know, fifth semifinal type team.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to check some of that out on film and see if we were right. See if their hitting percentage was higher when they were shooting or when they were hitting.
I think that they had an interesting draw. I think their first game was against Troy and Tim. Yeah. And then their next one was against Berkey and Wilcox.
Yep.
Who I think Berkey and Wilcox are a very similar matchup to DJ and Brian. One of the things that I'd be interested to see, especially if you watch the Berkey-Wilcox match, would be how they shrunk the court. I think DJ was running a lot of middle sets, which makes it tough for him to bring that power.
Mm-hmm.
And if the location of it was hard to see if the sets were tight or what, but I personally, if a team runs a middle set on me, I really like that, because I think that that's when errors can happen, especially if it's an aggressive player, because they're either going to hit the ball away from me, maybe they miss wide, or they're going to try to hit the ball back into me, which if you get the right call at the right time, then you're kind of helping the blocker get a good touch on you. I think it was a tough matchup. I've been playing with Berkey a lot recently. He's been my practice buddy here in California. And the one thing that kid is really good at, I mean, he's a monster. He was I think the 41 seed that qualified. But when you talk about going out and being aggressive, I don't even know if Berkey knows that his partner is calling shots for him. He tries to hit high. He hits the ball really hard. He gets some really cool bounces. And yeah, I think that Brian and DJ can almost like learn a little bit from Berkey watching that film as well. But yeah, that'll be an interesting little film breakdown.
Yeah. So speaking of hitting hard, did you see the things that James Shaw did this weekend?
Yeah, I've been seeing the things that James Shaw has been doing since he was in college.
God,
he is coming up quick. I think I was talking to John King a little bit, and he was like, man, Jordan and James kind of came out of nowhere. And I was like kind of talking about him because, and I think I mentioned this to you as well, as far as people that are playing in the AVP tournament, he might have the most high level volleyball experience out of anybody. I mean, maybe not the Taylors, but anybody who hasn't been playing at the pro level or
and winning championships already.
Championships already. He was a 4-year starter at Stanford. He was a setter, but he was like their most athletic player, just touching the ball above the top of the antenna. He had some dumps, some setter dumps in indoor that like bounced higher than his players' hits. And then he was on the USA roster, like the VNL roster, and had some opportunities to play. It's really cool to see him show up on the sand. I think this is kind of somewhat like his third season. I think he got hurt there for a little bit.
Yeah.
Played a little bit when you were still playing. And then his partner Jordan is just getting better every year. So they're definitely a team to watch.
Seeing him hit hard line over Alisson and it be 4 or 5 feet from the back line, bouncing.
And Phil.
I mean,
yeah. Yeah, he was not shying away from anybody.
No, and he can do it on like a tempo set too.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't even need to like really truly gather and make sure that his feet are completely there, or he's just like able to get his feet to a tempo set and crush. That kid's scary. I don't be surprised, anyone, if he's in a final before the year's out. Like, I know there's only 2 to go, but if he decides to play, you know, Virginia, Denver, anything like that, he should probably be a favorite based on the teams that I think or know are going and not going.
Mhm.
If he decides to go, he'll be a favorite to be in the semis at minimum.
Yeah.
So should be interesting.
Yep. Yeah, him and Jordan, I think, won a futures event already this year. They made it into a challenger and I think got a 9th or something. But yeah, they're putting in the work and showing it too.
Well, that's our rundown. And since we didn't watch any of the women's,
I watched. Dude, the one thing that
I didn't get to watch any. I had the men's and I had the players in, and then I had to drive home, and then
right. So the one thing that I'll say, which I think is really cool for the sport, is from the 1 seed all the way down to the last seeds, and on both the men and the women, it is incredibly tough.
Yeah.
Like I would even a couple years ago when we would sign up for a qualifier, you'd kind of go into it knowing they're like even our text thread that we have with like all of our buddies, we would have the conversation of being able to say, you got a good route, you know,
right.
There's no more good routes. When I looked at the qualifier list, I not only was I like, man, my bracket's tough. I looked at the rest of the brackets and I was like, I don't want to be in any of these brackets. Like these guys everyone is so good. So it's really cool to see, you know, and I think I'm at that point in my career where I had a really cool moment in the qualifier where I didn't feel pressured and it just felt like a game. It felt like I was playing points. Like my first match was against a kid, Nick Amato and Thomas Hurst, who I think Thomas came to some volley camp Hermosa and Better at Beach stuff.
For like 5 years in a row.
Yeah. And I get to watch these guys and they make good plays and I'm able to be on the court and congratulate them. I think it's a really cool point in the sport. The next round I got to play against Cole, who like I've seen play a decent amount. He really respects us, what we're doing with Better at Beach. He'll ask me questions and we'll kind of be able to talk in the middle of the match where like I remember one play where I pulled and he ended up hitting into the net and he was like, oh, good pull. Like you got me. Like he would pick up a shot. And then like Caleb and Alvaro were able to have like these miniature conversations in the middle of games where it's really cool to see where the sport's going. And I think we've seen that on the women's side for the last couple years. It's unreal. Like when you see that Kelly and Sarah are getting a third in an AVP event when they're world champs, you know, and then there's just a lot of really cool stories, you know, Betsy and
Julia
coming back from a surgery, like a knee surgery, which is pretty tough, and doing what she did. The Alex and April comeback, amazing to see those 2 moms out there kicking some butt.
Yeah, I thought it was better story-wise and storylines and everything, like competition-based and what the future holds. To watch the women's side would have been better for everyone. I mean, just because of all the things that are going on and the fact that you had, I think Rich Lamborn at one point, he said, yeah, we have 3 of the 5 top teams in the world in this tournament. And you're going, what?
Yeah, unreal. And then I think Savvy got a third last year in Hermosa with Megan Rice, and she's in the qualifies and then does well. Yeah,
smooth run through the qualifier. She handled her bracket for sure. Saw that and I was like, okay, she was comfy.
But yeah, I think it's set up for a really cool season. I think the Virginia Beach and Denver tournaments, I hope people go out and show up and support. And because I think some of these top teams are going to end up going just because of the limit of the amount of tournaments that are on the schedule. But even if they don't, these tournaments are loaded with fun volleyball players. Got to see the Basie brothers get main draw and show up and do their thing.
They're good too.
It's cool. I think it was a really fun tournament all around. It was really cool to see Tim and Troy get a third.
That's another one from our text. Like, how long is Tim going to keep doing this?
Right.
Who the hell does he play against? People have been asking the same thing for like 15 years. Yeah. Who does he play against? How does he get reps?
He's doing burpees in his basement with his wife.
Yeah.
And showing up and getting a third and kicking everybody's butt. It was cool to see Troy back out there, like legitimately having fun.
Yeah.
And also balling out. I think as far as like top to bottom goes, as far as like what you're looking for in the first AVP event of the year, other than the Olympic teams not being there, but that's its own story, which is amazing as well.
Yeah.
I thought it checked all the boxes. So yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah. Good event.
Yeah.
Good event. Looking forward to more. Hey guys, if you're watching here and you haven't given us a like yet or a subscribe, it keeps us going. It's our little fuel. So make sure you send us a like and a subscribe. And again, just want to put on repeat. We have right now our two most popular programs, our 10-week workout for volleyball program, our 10-week max vertical program, where you're going to get performance nutrition checklists. You're going to get advice on eating. You're going to get a full mobility program, strength and conditioning, and plyometrics all in one program with workout with me videos so that there's no question mark. All you do is you follow the person on screen and do exactly what they're doing when they're doing it so that you can have that. And you get the tracking sheets so that if you don't want to follow the video, you can just follow those tracking sheets. And that's right now. We have a special on it. It's for $37 only. And you can get that program on its own alone without signing up for the whole membership. And then our other program, Fix Your Arm Swing in 21 Days. It's a rehab and reprogramming for your arm swing mechanics. It is our second most popular program, and it's massively important. Just one of the emails that I wrote to our list this morning was, by the way, if you're not on our email list and you just want to receive hundreds of like volleyball tips throughout the year, the link's below, the link's around this. Doing one test that everyone can do at home is, can you get your biceps, when your arms are straight, can you get your biceps behind your ears? Can you lift your arms and make sure that your biceps appear behind your ears? Yes, you can. You're set.
Nope.
If you can't, your serving, your hitting, and your setting suffer. Absolutely. If you can't do that, you're probably the person that hates back setting with their hands, because physically it's tough. You have to create a huge back arch now to be able to get that ball backwards. So you're limiting your setting, not only your hitting and serving. Okay. One exercise that you can do is just to open that up is take 2.5 feet from a wall, put your hands above your head on the wall and try to push your chest down towards the floor and the wall so that you can try to get your biceps back. Now your next test is, if you're a lady, you can use 25-pound plate. If you're a guy, you can use a 45-pound plate. But can you pick that plate up above your head, hold it straight, and then walk for a full minute? If you can't, you're either too immobile or too weak, and you won't be able to do that because having to actually hold it up instead of balance it will cause pressure, and that'll be a sign of immobility. Okay. If you are plenty mobile, but you just can't hang it out there, then you've got weaknesses and you need to shore that up so that you can last in this sport. All that to say, the Fix Your Arm Swing in 21 Days program will help you do all of that, will help you increase your mobility, your overhead mobility, flexibility in your pectorals so that you can actually unload on a ball like some of the guys we're talking to today. And it'll help you fix those pains, because you will probably be experiencing pain if you're not in that mobile enough position and you're trying to still hit volleyballs over and over again. So these two programs are now available, each for $37 as standalone programs, and the links are only in this video, so around this video, or if you were on our email list today, you got those, and we're just putting them on special for 2 weeks just so that everybody can get great programs for the summer. So check it out, and if you're a member, or if you're not, sign up, because we're going to walk DJ and Brian Miller through their AVP matches this week on Wednesday at 11 a.m. at our complete player meetings. And we'll see what they did right, what they did wrong, and what they think about their game in the tournament. So a little insider access for anyone who's pushing their game to the next level with us. But that's it, man. It's almost time to work out.
It is.
Yeah. All right. For Brandon, for me, see you guys on the sand.
Have a good one.